This is September, so I'm going to cover the nesting bowls of belonging. And I'm going to strip this infographic down right now so that you can see what I want to talk about to begin with. Here's a drone's eye view of the context in which we all live. The smallest green circle being the relationship with our birth mother and birth father. Many of us are not lucky enough to have two dedicated caregivers from birth, but most of us have lots of great people around us. Yet it's significant that our birth parents are never entirely out of the picture, even if we don't know where they are or who they are. In fact, if our birth mother or father is missing from our life, we wonder more. Would they love me if they knew me now? What was my mother like? What did my father accomplish in his life? We wonder a lot about our parents because this is where our belonging begins in the most personal way. We belong to a person. We belong to a family, to a creator. We belong to this place, these surroundings, this climate. We belong in activities, inside ethnic activities, in language, in family roles, in family traditions. When we belong to someone, somewhere, we can feel belonging. We can know what belonging feels like. Our capacity to feel like we belong grows from the inside out. Like Richard Wagamese wrote, nothing ever grew from that outside in. So like a seed, feelings of belonging need the right growing conditions. Seeds don't germinate just because they're seeds. Disruption to the germination of belonging creates the struggle to feel like I belong. So hear this. Attachment relationships provide the necessary growing conditions for a sense of belonging. In other words, attachment relationships need protection and good maintenance. This means infants and toddlers need committed caregivers, not perfect caregivers, but committed caregivers in this whole new world of sensory overload. There is an entire sensory landscape or sensory-scape to the people and places of our belonging. So think for a second how your sense of smell, for example, is central to your memories in childhood. Mom's cooking, dad's aftershave, grandma's hand soap, the basement, the attic, the barn, the smell of sea air or prairie grasses. Sensory-scapes actually open the heart and mind to family beliefs, family values, and identity. Ethnic identity opens us to a larger context holding more potential to grow, right? Each bowl gives depth and volume for more people influencing each other. Our belonging grows from the inside out. Yet here is a rethink. If these closest relationships are too difficult or seriously disrupted by, for example, a parent leaving or dying or becoming emotionally inaccessible due to illness or addictions, or we are moved to foster care, adopted into new attachments, then our sense of belonging is disrupted. And even if we get wonderful care and attention to our needs, and that's continued in this new place, there will be feelings of seeking what is missing, mixed up with feelings of belonging. And if our caregivers are sensitive enough to draw out these mixed feelings as if they are objects to look at and talk about and view from different perspectives, then we can more fully access our feelings of belonging, even when it's mixed with feeling that there's something missing. But just to be really clear, as long as there isn't neglect or abuse or chronic chaos, young children can adapt well to changes in attachment and enjoy emotional health and emotional development. At home, sufficient belonging looks like kids wanting to be like their parent. They dress like them, walk like them, choose the same favorite color, same favorite food, and want to be together. At school, whether we know it or not, schools are called on to promote belonging with children and teens who already have a baseline setting of belonging. They have a default setting of those feelings of belonging. So the question becomes how to support school belonging in this unique school, because each school has a unique setting. When these are not my kids, these are someone else's kids or older kids or disconnected kids. So yes, the ongoing goal is to protect belonging, At school, belonging shows up when kids listen to what we say, care what we think, maybe talk like us, repeat our words, follow our directions. They are open to our interpretation of the world. And why put forth so much effort into belonging? Because belonging roots mental health. Let me show you this next part of the infographic. We start with belonging to then be our authentic self and then become even more. The grand developmental plan is belong, to be, to become. Plus, belonging grows loyalty. Loyalty is powerful for raising kids to be wonderful adults because belonging shows up as loyalty to live by the values and beliefs of the adults that kids look up to. And belonging and loyalty propagate feelings of significance. Significance protects kids from looking for love in all the wrong places, and which I'm going to restate by saying looking for significance in all the wrong places. We all have a basic emotional need for significance. This is the feeling of being important to myself and to others. When significance is satisfied at home and school, kids know what is right and want to do what is right. Kids have a compass, even in new situations or tempting situations, because kids get a glimpse of their future self, what they want to be and what they don't want to be. This protects kids so they can navigate larger contexts. So have a look at this pink nesting bowl, the laws of the jungle at school or in the wider community. This is that internal struggle to understand our group identity. We have to sort out, am I a victim or a victor? A bystander, an advocate, a leader, a follower? I mean, think about all the peer groups, good and not so good, which kids could identify with even before they leave high school. And also, community activity. Activities in a community can be good, bad, and ugly. But when community projects involve young people who feel their significance in a group, they sense their importance, and they have good energy to change their world. And then changes tend to move us all toward a humanitarian ideology, a humanitarian direction. And what about abstract concepts like governance or commerce? Families and neighbors are caught up in governance, which can be fair or not fair, responsive to community needs or not, forging responsible leadership or not. So our kids are learning how to critique and respond to rules and politics along with us. But commerce? Yeah, commerce. You know, this is the shift of value of what we buy and sell. This is our access to money. It could be legal or illegal commerce that is around us. And what about this word ideology? This is the character of group thinking. So hopefully your local ideology has low tolerance for discrimination, aggression, or violence, and very high value for education, inclusive workplaces, and volunteer work, and responsibility for the neediest among us, because this is not the reality everywhere. The very best scenario is groups of young adults who make the right choices as they become the next generation of leaders in the community. But what about pressures on generational values, which need updates? For example, elders cannot value technology unless the digital generation invites the elders in. And we overlook the impacts of technology on child development if we neglect to thoughtfully examine our beliefs and values about technology's challenges for modern kids. I'm taking this thinking to the outside limit by including national ideologies and global ideologies in this model. But COVID is a real-time, real-life example of how ideology seeps into our daily life. We're all connected, so we're all affected. So a model of emotional development has to take into account the nested security of belonging in order to make sense of concentric circles of larger contexts, all the way to a global scale. There is a grand plan for emotional development to sprout from belonging to being in larger contexts and becoming a citizen or leader with more to contribute. Richard Wagamese speaks directly to this grand plan when he says, I am not alone here. I sit with my ancestors. And Richard also notes, we are born into relationship with all things. I highly recommend the writings of Richard Wagamese and also Tokopa Turner for further reading about belonging. But please comment and question any of the ideas that I presented in this nesting bowls of belonging. I believe our presence is powerful in the life of a child because we cannot grow up for kids, but they cannot grow up without us. Emotional development, I love this topic.